This module is working with logical operators and short-circuit evaluation. The goals for this module are to learn about true and false values. Now, those are known as truthy and falsy in the JavaScript world. We'll talk about learning the logical operators that are also available, such as and, or, and not. And we'll take a look at this concept called short-circuiting. Let's get started. In JavaScript, any variable with a value, such as a string that has characters in it, a numeric that is non-zero, or a Boolean true, is considered true, and you can use it in an if statement like that. Any variable that is a Boolean false, null, undefined, not a number, or an empty string is considered false. So let's take a look at an example of how this truthy and falsy works. Let's take a look at this function called true-false sample. I have two variables, price and color. I've set price to 200 and color to red. Again, based on what we saw in the slides, since price is something other than 0, it's considered a true value. And color, since it has some values in the string, is also considered true. We can check that by, on line 22, we can say result equals price greater than 10. So obviously that evaluates to true, so result when it prints out will be true. We can also use, on line 26, if price is greater than 10, we can test the expression in an if statement. But we can also simply do this on line 31. If we just care whether or not price has something in it, we can just simply say if price. We don't need to say greater than 0 because, again, if it has a value in it, it's considered truthy. Same thing on line 36 here, if color. So again, we don't have to check to see if anything's in it, or we don't have to do if color.length. We can simply check if color. And if so, it will print out color has a value. So let's take a look first off at these. Let's go ahead and open this up in our default browser and take a look at the truthy values. So up here at the top we can see the first one is if price is greater than 10, that's true. And then we get the other console.logs that say price is greater than 10, price is greater than 0, and color has a value. Let's go back and take a look now at the false values. So now, as you can see on line 43, color equals null. So if I were then to take color and put that into the Boolean function, which actually says take this value and convert it to a Boolean. Now, you don't have to do this. I'm doing it because I'm not using an if statement. I'm just doing it so that we can print out the value in the console. But this will come out false. Color equals empty string is false. Line 51, color equals undefined, will also become false. If on line 55 you let value and you don't assign anything to value, that will also be a false value. If you end up doing some arithmetic and that comes out to be not a number, that will also become false. Again, we could just simply run this. And now we can see all of these values down below are now reporting false values. Let's take a look at some logical operators now. So we have the logical operator AND, which is a double ampersand. So an example would be price is greater than 10 and price is less than 1600. We have an OR, which is the two vertical pipes. So price greater than 10 or price is less than 1400. We also have the NOT operator, which is an exclamation point. So this will negate anything. So not and then price greater than 10. So if price was equal to 200, then this would come out to be a false. Let's take a look at our various logical operators in action. Let's take a look at this function, logical sample. On line 16, I let price equal to 200. On line 19, I say if price is greater than 10 and price is less than 1600. So as long as both sides of that and are true, then the whole expression is true. So on the console.log, we'll print out that string. Now take a look at line 24. If price is greater than 10 and price is less than 200. Well, obviously both sides are not true since price is equal to 200. Thus, the whole statement is false. On line 32, if price is greater than 10 or price is less than 1600. So in this one, if at least one of the expressions is true on each side of the OR operator, then the whole expression is true. Take, for instance, line 37. If price is greater than 10, it is, or price is greater than 1600, it is not. However, because one of them succeeds, the whole expression is true. Then on line 42, if not price less than 10. So it evaluates, since the price less than 10 is within parentheses, that piece is evaluated, and then the not operation is applied. So is price less than 10? It isn't, it's 200, so the expression is false. We apply the not, it becomes true. Let's go ahead and open this up in our default browser. Let's click on the Logical Operators button, and we see the results just as I explained in the code. Let's now talk about short-circuiting. Now, short-circuiting is simply an optimization for logical expressions. What it allows JavaScript to do is to bypass subsequent expressions in and or conditions based on truthy or falsy. So let's take a look. So here's an example where I have an isColorRed function, and this function, if I pass in a black, it's going to return a false. Then, as you can see, I'm calling in the same expression another function called isGreaterThan1400, and I'm passing in 1401. So that will actually return a true. We're doing an AND. Now, just remember, an AND says both sides must equate to true. We know that the first one is not going to, right? So when we're using the AND operator, if both sides must return true, but the first one doesn't, well, why should it even run that second expression? And that's exactly what happens, and that is short-circuiting. Now, short-circuiting for the OR is different than the AND because when using the OR operator, only one expression needs to be true for the whole expression to be true. So if we take this example now where we say isColorRed and pass in red, that's true. Thus, it does not need to run the other side of the OR because right then the expression is now true, so the isGreaterThan1400 does not get run. So let's take a look at a demo here of short-circuiting. Here we can see the function short-circuit AND sample, so we're going to use the AND. Now look down on lines 23 through 26 and you see the function isColorRed. And you can see what we're doing. We're simply return value is equal to red. And I'm going to put a console.log in there because I want to show whenever it goes into this function. Then on lines 28 through 31, I've got the function isGreaterThan1400, again passing in the value, and we're checking to see if that value is greater than 1400. Again, I'm using console.log to show that we've gone into the function. Now go back to line 20. Result equals isColorRed, but passing in black, and, so we're using the AND operator here, is greater than 1400. So what does this mean? It means that since we're doing the AND, JavaScript is going to first evaluate the isColorRed black. It will come back false, so it never calls isGreaterThan1400. If we've done this correctly, and if JavaScript is evaluating this correctly, all we should see in the console is this message. Let's go ahead and open this in the default browser. Bring up our F12 tools, and we can see that, yes indeed, short-circuiting is taking effect here. Let's now go take a look at the short-circuiting using OR. As you remember in OR, each expression is evaluated until 1 returns true. As soon as 1 returns true, none of the rest of the expressions are evaluated. Take a look at line 41. We call the isColor red, passing in red. Now, as we know, that will actually return a true. Thus, there's no reason for it to continue on and do the is greater than 1400. Take a look at line 47. We then switch these two around. We do the is greater than 1400, passing in 200, which, as you know, will now return a false. So, it now needs to go to the other side of the OR and now do the isColor red to see if that one will then return a true. Let's go ahead and run this. And now we can see on the first example, it calls the isColor red first. That one returns a true. It never goes into the is greater than 1400. On the second one, however, as you can see, it calls the greater than 1400. Since that returns a false, it must go to the other side of the OR and test that expression so it goes into the isColor red. And this is how the short circuiting for OR works. We have one more thing to talk about when we're talking about all the different operators, and that's order of precedence. So which order things get evaluated in when you have a big, long, complicated expression. Well, obviously grouping first, so you can group things by using parentheses, then not, then multiplication, then division, then modulus, then addition, then subtraction. So all of these arithmetic ones happen in the order they occur, left to right. We then have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, equal, not equal, strict not equal. We then have and, or, and then finally assignment. So there is an order to which things occur. So you can look this up on the internet. There's a lot of people that have put some really good examples out there, and it'd be a good way to test your knowledge. In this module, we learned about truthy and falsy. True is a Boolean true or any variable that has some sort of value, whereas false is false, null, undefined, not a number, and an empty string. Logical operators and, or, and not help you make complicated decisions, but remember short circuiting, because that's going to determine if one side of that expression runs. And if that side of the expression is a function, that may or may not run that function. Coming up in the next module, we're going to talk about exception handling. We'll talk about try-catch, and finally, I hope you'll join me for the next module.